that we talked about, in previous weeks. And I have a few of them, that I can listen to, and it's amazing. Like the last 2 nights, like I don't know if people do this sometimes, listen before you go to sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I suggest that people do that if they have a
yeah.
hard time falling asleep.
But Sid was the one thing that I see in his talks is he talks about mind consciousness and thought, right? And then he says, you can't understand what I'm saying. Look beyond the words and look for a feeling. And that, Laurie, that is something in what he says about looking for a feeling. It's like I've never heard anyone talk like specifically like that before. Like look for a feeling that's already inside you. And those audios are just amazing because that's what he talks about. He talks about the feelings that are naturally inside us, that we can find them if we look. And the other thing that he said, when you find the feeling, that's it, you've got it. And then the understanding will come with that. So I don't know how you experience that, but so in other words, first he talks about the understanding, but then saying, well, you can't really understand what I'm saying because it's formless. But then once you get the feeling, then the understanding comes in more and more and more. So I don't know how you relate to that.
That's a great point. I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you make of that, Karen? And then I'll talk about what I make of it. You tell me. What do
I
you
see. I have a hard time putting it into words,
Yeah, right?
and it's just it doesn't mean that I don't get aggravated sometimes with stuff that goes on, but I know that I can pull myself back and just you know focus into that moment and just forget about the rest of it because it just thought.
Yeah, right.
And letting go of stuff is, I have to do. It's just, other people, and their psychological innocence and their stupid behavior, you can't fix.
Yeah.
Uh,
And to them,
they're
we may look
clueless.
stupid to them.
It may not, but
Right?
it speaks, their behavior speaks volumes to other people. And eventually, they're going to realize it's not just you. So,
Yeah, the thing that I love about, you know, looking for a feeling, and I used to, when I first heard that from Sid, I used to make jokes about it. Like, where am I supposed to look for a feeling under, under what rock? Through my navel? How do you look for a feeling? That just blew me away. I didn't get that at all. But through the years, I've come closer to, what you were talking about, Tom, that when you find a nice feeling, it's almost like I would have that recognition. Like I would kind of say to myself, oh, is this what Sid's talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like before that, I would have good feelings, bad feelings, bothered feelings, annoyed feelings, loving feelings, joyful feelings, and they would just be feelings passing through. Of course, I start thinking about the bad feelings, blaming it on something outside of myself. Um, but I, there is so much in that. Now, like Karen said, you can't really put it into words. It's really hard to put into words, but let's try
Yeah.
because that's how we share, that's how we
Yeah.
communicate through
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
So, when I found that the feeling, and then the other thing that really was useful for me was thinking of my feelings as guidance, as my inner guide, as my compass, my GPS. It lets you know immediately. There's immediate feedback, lets you know when you're off course in your thinking.
mhm.
Because that gives you the opportunity, it gives me the opportunity to like pause, put it put it on pause, and whatever you got going on that's giving you this feeling, um, just relax, rest, quiet, get still, get, I don't know how to like put it on pause, wait for a better moment. That all kind of comes naturally now, more naturally. Yeah. Look for a feeling. I know that that alone could change the world.
I think so. Yeah. 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 And when I first heard that, so it's probably about 2 years ago when I first heard it. In the beginning, it was a little, like you said, kind of when you first heard it. For me, it was, I thought he was talking about a specific something, a specific feeling, but he was just saying a nice feeling. So I can share that about 2 years ago, right around, might have even been this day, you know, in early May, I was in this period where I was very depressed for a lot of the time, you know, and I was having acupuncture done. And so I'm laying there on the table and I'm thinking, okay, I don't have anything to do right now. I think I'm going to look for this feeling that Sid was talking about, right? And so I'm laying there and I'm just kind of, words are coming to me like peace, joy, love, beauty. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just was kind of cycling them through in my mind. And I think of course, it feels good to have, for me at least, to have acupuncture done. But the acupuncturist said the most interesting thing. When I was going through this, she said to me, "Are you thinking about something stressful?" So she was reading, this is the way I see it, she was reading my effort to find a good feeling as stressful in my body.
Hmm.
And as soon as she said that, I stopped. And when I stopped, there was literally nothing. But yet that nothing turned into everything because I realized that nothing, the ordinary feeling of just being, was it. That was enough.
Mhm.
The ordinary feeling of just being was enough. And then it blossomed into this gratitude that lasted for several hours, you know. And so in that moment, I think what I saw in terms of looking, like there's one feeling everyone, I guarantee you, everyone can find in a moment. And that is the feeling of being just awake and alive in the ordinary sense. Like if you ask someone, "Are you awake?" "Oh yeah, I'm awake." That feeling, what I learned in that time is that feeling of just being awake and alive was enough. And sometimes it blossoms into, it's like a flower field. Sometimes it looks like joy. Sometimes it looks like peace. Sometimes it looks like love. But that feeling of being awake and alive, and Sid said it on the tape I was listening to. He said you can just be grateful for feeling alive when he was talking about the nice feeling.
Yeah,
So you know what I'm saying? It's so brilliant. It's so available.
yeah.
You don't have to do anything. You don't have to
Repeat
conjure
a
it up.
mantra or right.
Yeah.
You don't even have you don't have to conjure something up or
And
use
it's
anything.
there. It's immediate. Like you can
Yeah,
always find it.
yeah.
And so that's been a big game changer for me.
Oh, that's such a great story. I love that.
And
Yeah.
also, interestingly enough, it didn't it changed me, but it didn't in that time period. Did not in the moment take me out of this so-called depressive period I was in. I still suffered for several months after that. But you know what I'm saying? You can still have an insight, and it doesn't have to cure you, but it's just an insight. And now that insight is so powerful. It's like I can count on it. Whereas before, it was a nice insight that I forgot about and got caught up in my depressive thinking for another couple of months.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Huh. But I've heard you say that you're not depressed now.
No,
You
no,
haven't
I
felt
mean,
that in a long time, in
no,
fact.
I feel it momentarily many times a day. It's a passing, it's a passing fly that just hit you in the face. And so, okay, that's all it is. That's all it is. And I don't care. And that, that has been a relief too, because that was one thing that tripped me up because I thought that had to stop happening before I could feel like I was better. I thought that had to end. Now it's like, well, it can come, but who cares? I have a depressive thought. So what?
Yeah, right,
So what?
right. It doesn't mean anything. It's a
Yeah.
passing
Yeah.
depressed thought, sad thought, aggravated thought, whatever. It doesn't
Yep.
mean that you are this and you have to fix that. And something else that one of you said that struck me. Let's see what comes to me. Yeah, I love this. Looking for a feeling. Here it is. I don't know if one of you said this, but this is what struck me. That with Sid saying look for a feeling, he never talked about looking for what you're thinking. Never. Now we know that we feel what we're thinking, but his focus was on, well, he also said look for a nice feeling. I think you said that, right? You heard that too, Tom. Look for a nice feeling. But really, any feeling, if we could honor the fact that we are built this way to have this tapestry of feelings, you know, I I think we'd get kind of bored if we went through life just ho hum, everything's cool all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, wouldn't that be kind of boring? I don't know. I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
Making that up. Look for a feeling. Yeah. What else?
Surprised that the acupuncturist said they found you stressed because I know when I have those other thoughts in my head that, I don't want to be thinking about this, and you're trying to get them out and you're like, okay, I want to be in the moment. And you think about the positives, I'm grateful because I have, this car to drive in. It's a beautiful day. I have my health, and you start thinking about the gratitude pieces. But I'm surprised that causes stress.
Well, yeah, I think that, so there's two possibilities. One is she was making it up. you know, she saw something and she thought it was stress. But the way I heard it, why it was powerful and why it was such a big insight is I think she was picking up on the effort that I was,
Oh, okay.
the effort I was making to feel good. And she read that as stress. And then when she said that, I dropped it. And then I felt amazing.
Yeah. It's
I
the
guess
trying.
I'm probably still going through the motions yet, trying to get that other thoughts out of my head and just trying to replace them with,
Yeah.
you know,
But yeah, that's so true, you guys, that it takes effort. That's why the positive thinking thing was this phase, it didn't last. I mean, people still talk about positive psychology, but the next step beyond that is to see that it's all neutral. We're the ones that decide if it's positive or negative, whatever's going on. It's
hmm,
life is like a big movie, and we're the ones that are stamping the meaning on it. What does this event mean to me? Um, that's our own personal thinking that's making that meaning out of that event. Yeah. So efforting, that's such a great story, Tom, because effort, no matter what the acupuncturist was reading or making up, to make trying to think positive, trying to um,
Get rid of
even stop fighting with somebody is stressful because you're efforting and essentially, like, I know when I try to do something, I'm telling myself that I'm not doing it,
Mhm.
right? And there's nothing to do except sit back and enjoy the show.
Sometimes it's quite the show.
And sometimes it's quite the show. Yeah, you said it, Karen. Absolutely. Wow. So, did either of you bring a sig quote like I suggested? Sometimes, I make these suggestions late in the game, late in the day, and so you may not have even read it before you hopped on. But if you don't have a sig quote, I could just reach over here and find one.
Yeah.
See what we come up with and see what we'll talk about. I've got the missing link. Did either of you read the missing link?
Hmm.
You did, yeah. What'd you think of it, Tom?
I liked it a lot. To me, it was after I had already been in this, and it's almost, I say this in a complimentary way, it's almost like a textbook in that it lays everything out. You know what I mean? It tells you all, just gives you everything in words. And it's very logical, it's very comprehensive.
Yes, simple words, but man, they're profound.
I'm
Never thought
down.
of it as a textbook. It's the least textbooky textbook in ever, I
Yeah,
think.
that's why I say that's when I call it textbook, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean it in a way a textbook should be, which is it gives you all the knowledge and all the explanation. You know, one thing follows another, and you get the whole picture.
Yeah, yeah. In simplicity, such simplicity.
Totally.
Yeah. It's almost like I don't know, a book of, I was gonna say Psalms. It's
Yeah, actually, it is, and you can just open it up, right? Like
anywhere.
you're doing, you can just open it up and find something.
I'm downloading it right now. There it is.
What's that, Karen?
I just downloaded it.
I was
All
It's
right.
like,
on my list to do, so I just downloaded it.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay, I opened it up to page 59. Here you go. Hope and faith go together. With hope and faith in your heart, you will find the perfect path you seek. Ooh, ooh, I like
I like
that.
that one.
With hope and faith. What comes to mind with that?
I need you to read it again.
Let's see if I bookmarked it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I did. Hope and faith go together. With hope and faith in your heart, you will find the perfect path you seek. You know, I would label it two positive words, hope and faith. That's my label. But I think most humans would agree that they're positive feelings. So when you got that feeling, hope and faith, you're on the right path.
yeah, and this is something that's really come alive for me is hope in this understanding. Hope was not something that was a regular thing that would be like something that I thought was important. I used to think of hope as being more like I hope this worked. Well, it just wasn't a big thing. And even though there was some, I think in the past I've had some negativity to hope in the sense that, rather than doing something, you're just hoping on that level. But I think it was really George Pransky who talked about hope in a way that brought it alive for me And now hope is it's one of the most important things. Like even when we were talking about finding a feeling, right? Like even if you can't find a feeling that's nice, then you can go, well, you can have hope that you will, and hope is a nice feeling. So there it is. Hope is so powerful to me now.
Yeah.
It's
You
so
know, it's
powerful.
really big I do a lot of couples counseling,
Mhm.
really big for relationships, because if they're at each other's throats, you know, they're not happy with each other, if they could just have hope that it can be a lot better, it can be better, not even a lot better. Just have hope that there's hope for you to not fight every day. There's hope for you. I mean, because all these other people, well, we could talk about the three principles community. There's all these thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands of people now who have really turned a corner in their lives, have really seen something that has settled them down and helped them have a better life. How can you not have hope when you're surrounded by, it's not like you are the only person among hundreds of thousands of people who are not going to find a better life. Yeah, it's just, it's bound to happen. um, Even, when bad things happen, because they do, people get terminally ill, they lose a loved one, really bad things happen. I mean, we've seen it, horrible things. Um, you know, People who were family members who were in a parked car, and out of nowhere comes somebody slamming the car. Um, just amazing things that we've all come in contact with. Pick up a newspaper, and you read these awful stories, and the hope that comes from these stories are amazing. Like, Karen and I live in Connecticut, so I know Karen knows a story about. Um, there's another Bill Pettit who is also at MD in Connecticut, who had a home break-in, and his whole family was killed. He was the only survivor. This man, years later, is remarried with a new child. Not that he doesn't mourn the loss of his
Yeah.
family that he loved dearly, but unbelievable how resilient humans are. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So, Sid really saw something to put those two words together.
Well, I just Googled them, and hope is a feeling of trust, and faith is complete trust or confidence. So
Oh,
it's just really cool.
nice.
Cool. Yeah. Complete trust and confidence.
Well, Lori, I wanted to ask you in your work, because you know how much we love hearing stories about people that other
You
people
mean
work
in the
with.
Secret of Love book? Is that what you
Well,
mean?
not well, just in general in your work.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, just I'm often just either interested or just really delighted to hear stories about people you've worked with who like when you see the light bulb go on in people, and what you said or what they said. Do you have any kind of stories that you like to share about things that you've seen your clients
Hmm.
in ways your clients have benefited?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
a
sure it
lot of
happens all the time.
stories. Let's see what comes to mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I mean, you've heard some of them here,
probably, yeah,
right? I mean, from the people who have been
yeah,
students of the principles.
yeah.
And so I mean, just amazing things, right? That um, I don't know about a particular story. Well, did I tell you the story about the couple who um, told me that the night before they had a big fight and they were laughing? What the fight was about? It was over a plastic cup. Did I tell you that one? I love that.
No,
I just love that.
it's,
And then you realize, my God, well, did we really do that? And I think that has to be an awakening for somebody to
yeah,
realize, how ridiculous we can all be. It,
yeah,
that's the human brain. It can definitely get ridiculous. And to wake up, even if it's, the next morning, literally, you wake up the next morning and you realize, did I dream that we had a fight about a plastic cup? Did we get that crazy? And then, they were able to recognize that thought can be so compelling. In the throes of that, they weren't making that fight up. That was really a fight. They were really upset about him using a plastic cup when there were other cups to use. Yeah, it's just, wow, mind boggling to when anybody recognizes thought was the culprit. It wasn't the plastic cup. It was, and it wasn't their partner's view either. It was the thinking they were doing about that event,
Hmm.
about that thing.
I saw something in here. When you keep bringing me back to the achievement of mental stability and peace of mind is one thought away from everyone on earth.
I love that. Say that again. Yeah, I love that.
It's right in the first chapter of this book. The achievement of mental stability and peace of mind is one thought away from everyone on earth.
Which book?
The missing link, the one I just
Oh, the
downloaded.
missing link.
I'm like,
Cool.
I'm scooping into this. I'm listening
Yeah.
and I'm going, this is really a good book. Yes.
Yes.
what does that mean? What does that mean for you, Karen? Or what is that?
Great question,
It's,
Tom.
it's
Yeah.
that
Let's hear.
one thought. It's just clearing out the stuff that's in front of you that's upsetting you and just finding that other one thought, which you talked about before.
Yeah,
It's
beautiful.
just focus on, ground me in that moment. Find one positive thing in this moment.
Read that sentence again.
Yeah,
The achievement of mental stability and peace of mind is one thought away from everyone on earth.
Now, the way that I hear this, I want to hear how Tom hears it, is that we never know when that one thought will come that will bring a better feeling with it, that we'll feel better with that one thought. So it's not like we have to look for it because that would be effort, and effort is stressful. Tom proved that with his acupuncture story,
so I've heard.
Don't
right?
get old.
Right? Yeah. See how this comes full circle?
Yeah,
That no matter what way you look at thought, whether it's being, what's the next thought, one thought away, or efforting to get rid of a thought, it always comes back to the fact that we're thinkers. Thoughts pass through us all day long, all day, from birth to death. Sid said that too. And we don't have to do anything with it. We just have to understand what it is. It's just giving us different experiences.
But sometimes we have to let go of some things because we're thinking about something that just isn't productive.
Right, right. It's like we can get a thought, the sky is blue, and then we can work it. We can think, gee, I wonder why the sky is blue. I wonder if everybody thinks the sky is blue. I wonder if that's the right, do I have the right color for the
It's
sky?
pretty.
Oh, should ask somebody and see what they think the color is. And you could go on and on and on, upsetting yourself even about one thought.
Well, from Tom's
Why not?
perspective right now, it's gray. It's not blue.
Right.
It is.
We could start a fight
We're
deciding
not gonna
who's
fight
more
over
Yeah,
right.
we could.
But here's the thing, if you don't care, not, and I'm not meaning like don't care, like I don't care. I mean like I'm not going to care about what is.
Yeah.
What is just is. Why put something on it? Why put energy in it? Just see what thought comes next.
Yeah.
You know that, have you ever done that, either of you? Like sometimes I'm walking around in nature and I'm like, God, it's so cool. I love the woods. I love looking at nature and seeing what passes me on the road. And not really thinking about anything other than what's passing me and what I see on the road. But I might have a thought like, I wonder what thought's going to come to me next. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah.
That happens to you too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, I like being in that space of curiosity and wonderment and what's coming next. And it could be not a pleasant thought. Could be a thought that isn't very pleasant. So what? That's not going to last forever either if I don't work it, if I don't try to
Yeah.
fight with it or do anything with it, or right?
Another thing that has come up to something we talked about last week about the personal and the impersonal and the thinking. And another thing that Sid said that has been valuable to me in terms of, he would talk about the ego as being like the personal thought would be like an ego thought. And he always, even back in this early recording, he said he just simply described ego as a feeling of self-importance. And when I first heard that, I definitely resonated, but I thought he was talking about, how self-importance meaning like I'm special, that kind of self-importance. But there's another layer that's been revealed in that, and that's thinking anything that I think, if I'm starting to think this is really important. So it's not even like a self-inflating thought. It's just like, oh, this is really important. When I start noticing that, I know I've just been lost. And that's how I relate to that couple. Probably part of what's going on is they probably seem really important
Right.
in that time. So that's just like another doorway now.
Yeah.
That I notice when I think it's really important that I either say something or think something. That's a clue.
Yeah, that's a clue.
That's a
Yeah.
clue that and then I'm only one thought away from that just going away. Once you notice it, it stops.
Yeah.
You stop feeding when you notice it.
Yeah.
So I love that, and part of that came from, again, it was either George or Linda. I think Linda. That's why I love watching people talk to other people. She was talking to somebody about something, and Linda said to this person, she said, like, it sounds like you think about this a lot. And the person said, yes. And then Linda said, this is the first time I heard someone ask this question. And she said, and do you think it's important that you think about it? And that hit me. It's like, wow, that happens to me all the time. I think it's really important. And I'm thinking about this stupid little thing. And so and then I tied that together with Sid saying self-importance and Linda just saying anything you're thinking about, if you think it's important, you can kind of look at that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some things can really maybe truly be important, in the moment or something, but it's that feeling of, you know. Anyway,
Yeah. That personal thinking
that's what personal
that at
thinking
the
is.
beginning,
Mhm,
any personal thinking, that is ego.
mhm.
Whether
It's
you think you're
important.
too
It's about
good or you
me.
think you're too not good enough, or even you're not thinking about yourself at all, but you're thinking that this thing is really worth thinking about.
Yeah,
That's personal.
yeah. And I can go down rabbit holes of the stupidest minor little things and think they're like really important
Yeah.
and really important. Like
Yeah.
this is wrong, you know. And then I see it, you know.
It's great to laugh at ourselves, isn't
It
it?
is. It
Yeah.
is. That's another gift of this world, like being able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point, right? That
know.
ego is really, it's just anything that's personal, any kind of personal thinking. And Sid did talk a lot about the impersonal. That's where the spirituality is, in the impersonal. That's where you see we're coming from the same mind, the same energy,
Yep.
and just expressing it differently. Like, I love the image of a prism where the white light, all the white
Mm,
light comes through the prism and the prism breaks that white light, that's, that one light into all these different colors. That is what the three principles to me is like. People have talked about it as a bridge between the impersonal and the personal, or bridge between spirituality and the physical form, formless and the form. And a prism is like that, kind of like the spiritual nature of life uh, divides up into all of our little personalities, all of our little humans. But we're all coming from the same source.
yeah.
Yeah, so cool. Do we have time for another? One
Yeah.
more?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to see where this goes, isn't it? Ah, um, page 58. We're just talking about this. The more we dwell on the positive side of life, the more hope becomes a beacon, attracting positivity into our lives and guiding us to a steadfast and more contented way of life. Should I read that again? Because
Yeah.
I want to go to the next paragraph. Should I read that one
Yeah.
again before I go on? The more we dwell on the positive side of life, the more hope becomes a beacon,
Mm,
attracting positivity into our lives and guiding us to a steadfast and more contented way of life. Yeah, I mean, I think both of you have found that for sure. Then he goes on and says, many people make the mistake of believing that their moods create their thoughts. In reality, it is their thoughts that produce their moods. The personal mind is the creator of all activity. The personal mind is the creator of all misery, all expectations, all ideas, and all false deities, the things we bow down to, in life. Yeah. So, I mean, Sid did talk about, um, goes with looking for a nice feeling, that if you seek out, it's not even seeking out because that's a doing, that's an efforting, right? I think it's an awareness that the positive in life brings good feelings, and it brings out the best in us. right? I mean, if you see it differently, please stop me. I'm just talking about how I see it. So if the positive brings out the best in us, which has been my experience, why not look there? And that's not to say that, again, that bad things don't happen, but how often do these so called bad things wind up being good things? Like, do you have any examples of that? I had an example of this just the other day. Some bad thing, supposedly bad thing happened. Oh, it's like somebody got fired from their job and they wound up, and this happens a lot. They wound up, not saying all the time, but I've noticed it happen a lot with my clients. And they wind up getting a job that they enjoy more and it pays more. And they have more vacation days. I mean, but when they got fired from the job, they couldn't see that. That's where hope and faith comes in. Okay, that wasn't the right place for me, but I know there's a right place for me. There's a good place for me. I just haven't found it yet. To me, that's hope and faith. So I'll shut up. I want to hear from you guys.
You're doing good. Keep going.
Yeah, you do.
What did you hear in those paragraphs?
Thought creates mood. I mean, that's just, and like we've been talking, recognizing and that sometimes, just kind of get, like the other guy from England, he put it really well. It was just one of those, like you start to recognize when where your mood is because of what thought, and you just try to rise above it and just get a better perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's just enough knowing that I'm in the basement now. Mm, I'm not going to buy into what I'm thinking. I'm not going to sign on any dotted lines. I'm not going to,
I'm not going to give it any
I'm
more
gonna be
time.
careful. I'm not going to get into any heavy discussions. It's not going to turn out well because I'm in the basement. I'm just going to get quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the getting quiet, which is to me in allowing myself to get quiet, like not paying attention to all the clatter, all the noise, just allowing myself to get quiet.
Right back to Tom with his acupuncture.
Yeah.
Just let it all go.
Right. Thank you,
Yeah.
Karen. That's right. Exactly. Boom. Yeah. It doesn't take much. It just takes,
And
it comes
awareness.
from with grace. It's grace, right? That we become aware of
Totally.
something we're doing that's not helpful. That just happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love to me, the quiet is like, it's a gift of life because to me, like when I'm in what I call a thought storm, and when I notice it, it automatically quiets down because to me, this is theory, a little bit of theory, but I feel like there's always just a natural quiet between when thoughts, when you're revved up and it stops, it's just naturally quiet. You don't even have to make it. But if you see it, then what Sid said, you can actually intentionally dwell in that quiet,
Yeah.
until you get pulled, and then you get pulled out by something else. But to me, that's the real goal, that quiet. And it's a gift of life. It's grace, like you said. And
Yeah.
it's always coming back for us.
Yeah.
Between every storm, between every bad thing, it's always there. But we have to wake up to it and then we have to want it.
Yeah.
And choose that over going back into another self-important soliloquy,
Yeah, that you hit on something really important. I think it's valuing,
Yeah.
having value, we used to, I'll speak for myself, I used to think it was valuable to debate, that people will think you're smart if you're a good debater and all that crazy thinking. you know, um, it's quiet. In fact, did you see that post I made in our Facebook group about the movie that got, Best Picture? Um, I want to say heavy metal, but it's The Sound of Metal, about the drummer who goes deaf, and his whole identity is about being this great drummer. And there was a line in the trailer that I think is precious. If I recall it, something along the lines of, it was a question. Have you ever been still? I don't know if you said felt stillness or been still. Have you ever been still? That's something that can never be taken from you. When you think about it, we can lose our hearing, we can lose our sight, we can lose fingers, legs, you name it. We can't lose stillness. Everybody can get still, no matter what. That just really
Yeah,
struck
that's
me that
awesome. I
moment.
love that. That's so true.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And good to know too. That's a feeling of
Good
almost like
to
secure.
know.
That's a secure feeling because you know.
Yeah. That you got that. You've got that. We're all born with that.
Mhm,
Mm.
mhm.
Mm.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And something you said struck me too, Karen. What was that you were saying about? Lost it. Can't remember now. Hope and faith.
Well, that's right. She was reading a quote about hope and faith and trust and faith being so kind of like the ultimate trust.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Faith being the ultimate trust. Yeah. Yeah.
So we can trust that stillness because we know it's that you talked about. We can trust that be
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and that's faith is the ultimate.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there for us. You know.
Yeah. And it's not a belief either, because I don't know, do you have to be a certain age? Maybe. I don't know. That because I know the older I get, the more I see that this is not about good ideas. It's not like something I should do, or it's a good idea to find stillness. It's a good idea to find a nice feeling. I see it now as factual,
Mhm.
spiritual facts.
Yeah. Yeah.
A spiritual fact, that, I don't know, spiritual facts, mind, thought, and consciousness, I know are spiritual facts. We know, we're talking about, we're giving words to something we know exists. We can all relate to the fact that um, we're experiencing what's coming through us.
Mhm.
But once you hear it, like I had to hear that in order to see it. Do you know what I mean? And me,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. And and again, in one of Sid's earlier talks, he said something to the effect that all you need to do is find one, and he used that term, spiritual fact. He said, all you need to do is find one spiritual fact, and you've got it. It's almost like one spiritual fact. If you know that's enough, And it could be any spiritual fact, because maybe they're all different versions of the same, you know what I'm saying? Like the prism. But you just named, you just named it as a spiritual fact. And that's what Sid said. You just need to have one of those.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And I feel that way too. That really hit me when you said that. Really hit me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So what's your one spiritual fact, huh?
let's see. My one spiritual fact is, and it's goes back to what I said. It's the easiest one. Its easiest one is consciousness, which is I know that I'm awake and alive,
Yeah.
and I feel that has a feeling to it, and that is enough. When I realize that, it is just enough to be.
Yeah.
So that's, if you ask me on a Thursday, that'll be my spiritual fact. If you ask me another day, because I probably do have a dozen, but I love that because it's so easy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like it's so undeniable. Like you can conjure up maybe the idea that we're hallucinating reality, right? That this is a dream or something, or it's something.
Matrix.
But
We're filming the Matrix and we don't
yeah,
know.
but you go back to the most basic thing is you are awake, experiencing something, whether it's real or not. You still can know that you are awake and alive and conscious, experiencing.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. So simple,
Mhm.
right? If you put everything in a pot and boiled it all down, that's what you get.
Mhm.
The fact that we're awake and alive.
And that blossoms into this nice feeling of wow, this is really gratitude for that, or this actually feels nice to just be awake and alive. And there's the nice feeling, and it could take a million different forms, but
Yeah.
it's like your analogy about the electricity.
Yeah.
It can take any kind of form. So I just
Yeah.
love that. And don't you love how just when we talk about it, it just comes more alive just because we're talking about it?
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Like we can bounce off of each other and it
Mhm.
becomes, you find that too, Karen. Yeah. There's some kind of, what's the word for it? Synergy.
Mhm.
The synergy that, I have insights, I feel it. Like, a little something wakes up inside listening to some things that you guys say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something else that caught me. The simplicity of that is mind blowing.
Mhm.
Like, if you can see that alone is everything. We're awake and alive is everything.
Yeah.
Every, all the other stuff is we're making it up. All the other stuff is just how we're construing things, how we're interpreting things.
And
Totally.
how much value we're giving to it too.
Say that again, Karen.
And how much value we give it.
How much
Mhm.
value we give it. Yes, 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 yes. That, in fact, was what I was looking for. That,
Great.
where do you want to place your value? I want to place my value on the fact that stillness is valuable. And because that's where love is. I'm not blocking a loving feeling when I'm in stillness, when I'm in a quieter place, when I'm not immersed in personal ego thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Thank
so true. What do you value?
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for couples, you asked me about some
Yeah.
examples. couples who value being right, they get into a lot of trouble. And you know, I'll often see two people, they both think they're right.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll just really get into proving it.
Yeah, that's like what Karen said. Like, where do they put their value? Do they
Right.
value being right, or do they value being harmonious and getting along?
Right,
Totally.
exactly. Exactly. See how we piggyback off
I
each
know. I
other?
love this. I love it.
Yeah, I love how that goes. Yeah. Where do you put your value? And you know, there's little sayings like, do you want to be right or you want to be happy? Well, that's a saying. And you can use your intellect and say, well, of course I want to be happy. If it means giving up being right, I'd do that to be happy. But you have to see deeper than a good idea, like deeper than a saying. A lot of sayings are right on, they're right on. But you want to see deeper than the saying, you want to see what it means on a spiritual level. Yeah. So what else? Oh wow, it's already after 5. That's amazing.
Is it
Time
is it six?
flies.
Is it 6 o'clock your time?
Yeah. Is it?
Okay.
Yeah. What time do
Already,
you have, Karen?
already 6 o'clock. It's like I just looked down. I was surprised too.
Oh, it's 6 rather. I mean, yeah, I saw it was like past the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Wow.
started at 5, so it can't be 5. It would have to be at least 6.
Well, we maybe we discovered something here.
We discovered how to go back in time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been so great, guys.
Oh
Yeah, I really
yeah.
like this.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Lori.
You're
Have a
Uh,
nice
welcome.
week.
Thank you. Thank you
yeah.
both. Have a
I may
great
try.
rest of your day.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to make Wednesday next week. I'm not sure if I can, but oh, if I can, because I kind of miss seeing Alan and Pallavi.